Want me to just ignore your bug because you're slightly senior than me? All right, bud. First, I just want to say, I've been an avid reader of this sub for a long time, and I love the stories people tell here. Finally, today I have the opportunity to tell one of mine. Here it goes. I work as a developer in a company that creates very fast automated systems for moving around money electronically. So obviously we have very strict testing and error checking for any code that goes in a production system. And I'm one of the guys who does this verification. So 3 months ago I found a little bug in a patch that was written by this one other guy who had been working at the company for only a year longer than me. He has the title of senior developer while I'm just a developer. It didn't really make any difference though. That was just something you get with a small pay raise once you do 3 years at the company as a developer. Anyway, I noticed this bug. Email him and tell him about it so he can fix it and resubmit the patch. But he turns the responsibility on me. Tells me his code is correct and that I'm just testing it incorrectly. I try to explain to him, but he doesn't budge. Tired of the pointless arguing, I suggest that we should clear it out with our project manager. At this point, he pulls the seniority card and says I should just do as he says because I'm his junior. Now that just pissed me off. This guy has absolutely no authority over me. Who does he think he is? Cue malicious compliance. I knew that the bug would not manifest itself immediately. There were certain conditions that had to be met for it to show itself in a production environment. And it didn't do anything wrong. It would just crash the system unexpectedly. I asked him one final time in the email thread whether he's sure he wants me to go ahead with the patch. Yes. All right, yay. Now we have buggy code running on a production machine which moves $1 million every minute. Nothing happened for 3 months. Life was as usual. Then last week it finally happened. Our system crashed. Well, we have protections set up for such failures that roll back the binaries automatically. However, the crash still cost the company a few hours of downtime, which means potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars lost. The crash was traced back to the patch that Mr. Senior Developer had written. I had the email trail to absolve myself of fault. The resolution was quick, and needless or say, Mr. Senior Developer no longer works with us now.
Send it exactly like this. As part of my job working in complaints, I write letters to customers. We don't use templates, and each letter is tailored to the individual. Sometimes customers raise multiple complaint points, and each point is carefully addressed in the letter we send. We outline everything the customer is unhappy with, our full investigation, and what we are doing to put this right, or alternatively explaining carefully why their complaint is not justified. A new manager, Steve, was hired a few months ago, and he decided that we were wasting too much time writing letters, and he was going to come up with a template for us to use, as we were obviously too simple to understand how letters are meant to work. So he goes off and drafts a template and proudly shares it with us all. It was shit, to put it bluntly. It was full of typos and grammatical errors, but it also did not contain details of what the complaint was about or how we had resolved it. Of course, this was pointed out to him in full why this was not appropriate, and why it would lead to more complaints, and it's basically terrible customer service. He lost his temper, screamed and yelled until 3 separate people cried, and logged out of the virtual meeting. Afterwards he sent an email saying he wants his letter used exactly as he has attached it. Who am I to argue? I sent the letters exactly as he had written them, copied and pasted to ensure nothing was changed exactly as he asked, right down to his signature and contact details at the bottom of the letter. I told the rest of the team, and they all are sending letters with Steve's details too. Within the first week he had 40 customers call him an email complaining about the letter we had sent. The week after 50 irate customers. Steve hasn't looked into the complaint, so he doesn't know how to address any of the customers or understand their issues. So I get phone calls day in and day out. This man is livid. What was his complaint about? Each time I reply, it should all be explained in the letter I sent. You know, the one detailing all complaint points, my investigation and resolution in full. I would just check that by. The whole department is now under investigation as customer satisfaction has tanked. Despite is each and every dissatisfaction is scored against Steve. Every other member of staff has 100% satisfaction, as nothing is logged against us. Our name isn't on the letter. Steve is on 0%. It's a terrible shame. Goodness me, this blew up. Thank you. Hopefully Steve will get fired soon. We work in complaints, we are pretty thick-skinned. To make 3 staff actually cry takes some serious work. He's vile. I will provide an update if management ever get their act together enough to listen to our concerns. I do feel bad for the customers involved, though. The customers that are complaining about the letter don't know that their complaint is upheld and that I've sent them compensation or flowers. They would normally get a letter apologizing, deeply explaining what went wrong and how we will resolve it going forward. Those customers are normally absolute dreams. The only time they come back to us is to thank us. I have never in all my days sent someone a cheek and a nice letter and had them phoning to yell at me. Poor deluded Steve.
Angry because I keep asking for clarification so we aren't wasting money. Have fun explaining why we just blew $90,000 for no reason. I worked in the logistics department of a fairly large company. My job is to check our system for orders that come in and arrange the shipping for them. When the orders come in, they include the date that the material needs to be delivered by. There are times that our materials planning team makes a typo and inputs the wrong date, but it's rare. Our company is huge on having work instructions and standard processes for everything we do. My work instructions say to plan the shipment to deliver to the need date in the system. There's one material planner who has a history of inputting the wrong date. I had to ask her a number of times in the past to verify the date, and she would go in and correct it. There were a few dates that looked wrong, so I emailed her and asked her to confirm. She flipped out saying that she isn't making those mistakes anymore, and I am wasting her time. She reported me to my manager for not following the process or my work instructions, and he flipped out saying I am going against our lean company culture and that I will be written up if I go outside of process again by emailing the material planner. A month or so later, I see an order come into our system, a huge order with a combined weight of 30,000 pounds. I check the need date, and it needs to be delivered in 3 weeks to Colorado, and it's currently in India. I know what project this is for, and the need date definitely isn't right. This stuff has at least 2 months before it's needed on site due to build delays. The material planner never updated the need date to reflect those delays. So what do? I check the work instructions my boss wrote, and it says that if an order can't make the need date in our system via ocean, then it needs to go via air. I sure as hell am not going to email the planner to ask for verification after what happened last time. So I get in touch with our logistics company, and it's going to cost close to $100,000 to fly the material from India. That's $90,000 more than shipping it via ocean. I set it all up, and once it gets loaded on the flight, I send the material planner the documentation. It wasn't even 2 minutes before she calls me flipping out. I tell her I planned the shipment to deliver by the date she requested, and there is silence. After a long pause, I say, "Is there anything else I can help you with?" He hangs up, and my manager calls, also flipping out. I tell him I did exactly what he told me to do, and I followed the instructions he wrote. He told me I should have known better and that my job was on the line because of this. False. His job and the material planner's job was on the line because of this. I did exactly as I was told and was following the company culture. HR and upper management launches an investigation, and I'm cleared of any wrongdoing. I was specifically instructed to not go outside of the work instructions my manager wrote. The material planner is written up, and my manager gets in deep shit because he forgot to add an approval process for shipments over $15,000 to his wonderful work instructions like his manager had asked him to. To answer a few common questions, comments. I left the company a little while after all of this happened. A lot of people are saying they must have been sleeping together, but I know for a fact they weren't because they had never even met in person before. They worked in different parts of the country. I think that makes it even worse because they were just acting like that because they were miserable assholes. Some people are saying I let my ego get in the way and wasted $90,000. I should have said something about this to make sure the date was right. I should have. But when managers don't empower their employees to raise questions and use common sense, this is exactly what happens. I was threatened not long before this for asking questions. I wasn't going to do it again.
Check out my other great videos.